Okay, so today is what I'm going to do is change the filter on the high pressure pump on the Tohatsu 30D. We use this motor a lot in rafting the Grand Canyon and Cataract Canyon. We really like it. It's light, good motor. But one of the things we've found is we've had a few motors where they become really hard to start after you shut the motor down for a few minutes during the day, and they'll start in the morning, but if you stop it like for lunch and then you go back to start it 30 minutes later, the engine won't start very easy at all. You have to pull it a bunch of times. And for these motors that we just kept dealing with the problem, just starting it, trying to pull the motor over and over and over again, and taking vacuum lines off and blowing through them and trying all kinds of different things, we found out that eventually the motor started losing power, and then sometimes it would come back a few seconds or minutes later. So we didn't really solve the problem until we got in there and changed the filter on the high-speed pump, and that solved all of the problems. So the first step is we're going to have to disconnect all the electrical connections from this manifold on this side, and also disconnect down at the bottom the throttle connector that goes to that opens up this valve here at the front, the intake. And after we do that, then we have to remove a bunch of bolts, about 5 or 6 of them, and then take this whole piece off. So we're going to remove this connection, this one, these 2 connectors we're going to take apart. We're going to take that one off. We're going to take this one off, and we're going to take the electrical connections to the injector off. Okay, so I got most of those off. This one was a little bit easier to take it off the bolt and then get it undone. But you can see we got those off. And now the next step is we're going to get all of the bolts that hold the whole system onto the power head. So it ends up there's 6 of those bolts. They've got 10 millimeter heads. They're all the same length. There's 2 in the front, 1, and then 1 below, and then there's 4 at the back. And the very bottom one is really hard to get to without a swivel head and an extension on your wrench. So I use this snap-on 10 millimeter. So it's loose now. So now we have to disconnect a few of these vacuum hoses to be able to pull the motor completely apart and get to the high pressure pump on the back side of this manifold. Okay, so this comes off, and the high pressure pump's inside of there. And then there are, let's see, oh, there goes the gas coming out. The water cooler line, the telltale, it runs through this lower part to cool the fuel. So we have to disconnect those. And then there's one more gas line right there that goes to the low pressure fuel pump. We got to disconnect that. All right, so the fuel line, I got that just loosened up. And now I took off the water line, and now the whole thing just comes off in one big swoop. Next step, take these 2 bolts off so I can get to the high pressure pump. I'm not going to take the line off that runs from the high pressure pump to the rail because it's got those special connectors on it. So we'll just get in and get to it without taking those apart. All right, got those 2 bolts, and then as you pull it off, you can see there's 1 electrical connector on the back of the high pressure pump. I'm going to disconnect that. Okay, disconnected the electrical. Now there are these 4 Phillips head screws. We can take those off, and then we can get to the pump and the filter. Okay, so it got it apart, and you can see how black that filter is there. It's really dirty. So here's the new filter, there's the old one. You can see how dirty it is. Okay, so the new filter is on. You need to remember to take this little black piece and put it on the bottom for a spacer off the old filter. So the black spacer piece is in. I never disconnected the electrical, and then there's an O-ring at the top of the inlet to the outflow, I guess, of the electric fuel pump. So you want to make sure you have that O-ring on, then you slide it back into place, and then we just put it back together like we had it before. We'll put the 4 Phillips screws back in. So now I put the 4 Phillips head screws back in, and then hooked up the electrical connector on the back of the high pressure pump, and then the 2 10mm hex bolts. So the next step is to put it back up, connect the water tubes back up, and go from there. Okay, hook the 2 water lines back up, the cooling lines for the fuel, and then we got to do this gas line. I'm close to getting that back on. And then once that's on, we'll put it back vertical and start screwing it back in. Okay, so finished up, hooked up all the injector electronics, hooked up all these other ones, the sensors and the cables, and got it all back together, put the 6 bolts back in, and put the throttle cable connector back on, and it should be good to run now.